Hi, Eden. I'm going to make you a co-host
Okay.
so you have controls. We have very small groups this morning, but they're super excited to talk to you.
Awesome. Good.
That Sunday morning session, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, you're all recording. I will shut the other door so it's less noisy, and then y'all can just have your chat and get to know each other.
Okay. I did have a question. I just have to be at that event at 11 Central Time.
Yep,
How long is this?
like 45 minutes.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, you should be good.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Then we can start if it's helpful with introductions and definitely to know you a little bit more, but
Sure.
I can kick off. So my name's Katie. I am the Region Information Officer under Brittany. Graduated 2014 from Case Western Theta Upsilon. Now I live down in Cincinnati area.
Nice. Excellent. Nice to meet you. And I'm sorry, say your name one more time.
Katie.
It is. Okay.
Hi, Connor. I'm the H3 section chair. Sorry, I was trying to find out if my staff ended up going home yet or not. So
That's fine. And did you say it was Tyler?
Connor.
Am I saying it right?
No, oh, Connor.
Oh, Connor. I'm so sorry. It's a little quiet.
Yeah, I don't know if we can get you closer. We'll get you the speakers. That might be better. This beautiful angle.
Yes, that's all right.
Connor.
Okay, Katie and Connor. Excellent. Well, I'm Eden Collins. I don't know if she's introduced you to me at all, but I am the national, trying to remember what we're actually called now. Volunteer development. We used to be IVD, now we're just volunteer development program chair. But I have worn many hats in the fraternity. I was a section chair of, I call it the ODAs, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, from 2014 to 2016. And then in 2017, I joined, or actually, it was even before then, I was the section chair academy, one of the staff members, and then I became the section chair academy coordinator in 2017 at NVC. Let's see, after that, I had then relocated to Texas where I was doing my terminal degree. And so I was working on the region staff in Texas and on the section staff doing sort of various roles sprinkled here and there because graduate school took a lot of time. And then I now live in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is a small town in the eastern side of the state, real close to Louisiana, where I am a professor and an artist. And I am now the volunteer development chair. So, oh, and I was a sponsor for the University of Minnesota, now Gamma Psi chapter up in Minneapolis. And that was in 2012 and 2013. And they are still going strong. So,
Oh, that's always good to see.
yes.
You've got quite the resume, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's hard to walk away.
And then what is your role today encompass? Like, what's your big focus as you said volunteer
development.
Yeah.
So when each of us program chairs is tasked with certain requirements that come out of legislature. And so the primary focus for us was to develop something called the volunteer segmentation chart. And it's on the back end right now, what its purpose is to take all of the national level trainings that we offer to our staff, our volunteers, anyone who is volunteering in any capacity for APO at an alumni level. We look at all of it, everything that we have done and everything that we want to develop. And then we're taking that chart, turning it into, or taking all of that information, turning it into a usable chart. So we're going to ask questions like, is this a training that is okay to be done once, or does this need to be a renewable training? So for example, like cultural competency would be something that we would want renewed. As culture changes, we want to be able to reflect that. risk management, the APO leads courses, APO volunteer university, extension coach training, section chair training, all of the different trainings that we offer. So once that chart was manifested, now what we're doing is we're turning it into usable information for volunteers. So just like the APO lead certificate, where you have your little stickers, we're basically taking that idea and making it digital. So a volunteer at any given point can go into the online learning center and they'll be able to look at any training for any role that they're interested in, look at the learning pathway they would have to take to be eligible to do that role, or if it's not required, what would be encouraged to take to be competent in said role. They can look at the different competencies that they would need to have to be in those roles and be comfortable and be able to do them skillfully. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just woke up. It's a little earlier here, so yeah. Excuse me. But essentially, they'll be able to see all of that. They'll be able to see the whether or not the pathway has to be taken in order, if they can kind of jump around. But the coolest thing about it is at any given moment, they'll be able to go in and see what they've done. So there's the what's so lovely about that APO lead certificate is they see all the stickers, they have that confirmation of, yes, I have achieved this. Yes, I have done this. And so it's going to be the digital version of that where they can go in and say, yeah, oh my gosh, look at all of the amazing things I have already accomplished. Look at all these things that I have done throughout my time as a member, or excuse me, as an alumni member of APO. And so it's the purpose is to create greater transparency. It's to help us have better record keeping, because like APO Volunteer University, a lot of members went through it and I only have one spreadsheet. And it's not even all of the people who took it. It's the people who took it from a couple of years. The other years, I'm still working on getting that information. And so, you know, we want to be able to recognize all the hard work that our alumni are doing. And we realize it's just, we're sort of catching up to technology. But so that's one of the big tasks we've been working on. The other big task that we have been doing is streamlining section chair training. Because in our mind, that is one of the most invaluable positions within the fraternity. Our section chairs need to be well equipped. And so it is a reality of Section Chair Academy. But what we've actually decided now is Section Chair Academy used to just be a 3-day weekend event. In person, that's how it was done. But now what we're going to do is we're going to change that. So Section Chair Academy is the all-encompassing term for everything section chair training. And then, so we'll have live events. We're going to have webinars. We're going to have the on-demand training course, which will launch this fall. Yay. And we're going to have a manual. So just like we have that new beautiful pledge manual, we're going to have the equivalent version of that for section chairs. And that is in process right now. The final draft is being sent over to the national office to beautify. So we're really excited about all of that. We think that it's going to allow section chairs to, instead of feeling really comfortable, say at 6 months, feel comfortable at month 1, or even if it's month 3, you know, you can get your feet on the ground faster. And the hope of the on-demand version of Section Chair Academy, we're still working on the name of it. That's why I'm calling it the version. We're something foundational level. The whole goal of that is that if someone is interested in becoming a section chair, they can take the class and determine, oh, is this something that I even want to pursue? This is a big job. Or they can go, oh, this is amazing. This is so exciting. Now I'm even more jazzed. And now I really want to run for this position. And they already have the tools in their toolbox. They already can start asking questions, getting prepared. So when election time comes and they get the position, they can get moving. So that's sort of where we're at. The trajectory after section chair training is to then create an equivalent for region chairs. So we're going to be partnering with Melody, the vice president, certain past and current region chairs who are already working on some training. And then we're going to be working on with the national office and making sure that we're in alignment with their education standards. So it's going to be a lot of cooks in this kitchen, but I think it's going to be really exciting and also open a lot more doors for individuals who maybe don't know how to get into positions, how to move sort of through the different, I hate to say hierarchies, but the different hierarchies within the fraternity, making things more transparent so that people don't feel like, oh, I can't run for these things, I'm not eligible, or oh, I can't run for this, I'm too young to do this, or what have you. I want to eliminate all of that. I want there to be a lot of transparency within the structure. So that's kind of what we've been up to.
No, that resonates deeply. It sounds like when both of us were nodding our heads that there's so much talent. It's just a matter of tapping it. And it's not just a matter of, you know, someone encouraging you to do it. You feel empowered to do it all on your own. That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I realize it's going to be probably a 2-3 year process to get these things launched and moving. But the fact that we now have those wheels turning and we have set the groundwork, I'm really excited for whoever my successor is. I'm going to partner with them and make sure that they know what's happening and understand the value that this is going to bring to the fraternity. I think that this is going to be such a significantly positive shift for us. I'm very excited about it. So, yeah.
I feel like probably because we've experienced in our region of that, probably our old region of that, you had to do certain things to then be able to move up. Like you had to graduate, then you had to be on section staff for so many years, then you could run for section chair, then you could go on region staff. And like, so I'm assuming, is that something you saw like being in the Minnesota region and down possibly in Texas, like kind of across the country?
So that's a good question. And I would say that it is a cultural difference. I am a little bit familiar with the culture of your region, and I know that there is sort of an ingrained system. That was not the case in it was at the time Region 9, which was Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. Region 9 was, it's geographically huge, but the staff was very small. And so there you couldn't really afford to do that. It was a matter of who is there. Because while we had so many incredible students, oftentimes, like a lot of our students were medical students and ended up getting residencies out of our region. And so what would be our sort of natural flow into sectional and regional level staff, oftentimes we lost them after graduation, which we were excited for. I mean, we were pursuing their dreams, but we were short-staffed, I would say. So, so no, it was more of a whoever was in the position would try to find someone and teach them so that they would have a sort of a natural successor. When I was section chair, I developed a staff. So the previous section chair did not have a staff for almost 9 years. I don't know how she did it. She's a beast. But I didn't want that. I really wanted our section I knew that it was possible to find people. And so I made it my mission. We were going to get a manual and we were going to get a staff and we were going to have regular meetings and it's going to happen. And so out of my staff, there were 2 real natural people that I saw becoming the successor. And one became the section chair after I left, and then the other one followed in his footsteps. And so that system sort of started. But there was no requirement of how long you were in a position, which positions you had to be in. Like, for example, I know in Illinois, that's very much a part of their sort of culture that you have to, what's the word? Not
like clear dues.
I don't want to say like almost like a kiss the ring, like be there for that person and then they will like pass it along and bestow it upon you.
Yeah, it's you have to do your time in the roles that they've determined. And And part of that is the personalities of those who are currently in charge. But that was the region that I was in when I was a student. I'm from Region 6, and so I'm a Michigander. And so we would, every other year hang out with Illinois, and it was very evident that that was sort of their system. Mm-hmm. Now, Texas is a whole different ball of wax, because this region is Texas and Southern Arkansas, and they have a huge number of volunteers, because Texas is gigantic. But again, there's sort of like this strange culture of, like, I have found moving here, it's been very difficult to get brought in to the staff. So it seems kind of like the people who end up in positions sometimes tend to be the ones who are friends with those who are already in positions. So it's not necessarily grooming, but it is harder to break into. Now, do I think that any of these things are concrete? No, I think this is all changeable. I think it all just comes down to a culture shift. But I think a lot of that comes from the people who haven't been in power, getting the tools, getting the resources, getting the knowledge, getting the confidence to pursue these things. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of where I feel like we come in, and we're going to hopefully bridge that gap so that there isn't so much of this old guard sort of system that I think is fading. With the current sort of I hate to say it, but like the millennial and the Gen Z volunteers, I think, are much more interested in collaboration versus, and this is not exclusive. Like I have so many wonderful friends who are, I hate to even bring in the generational argument, so please excuse me.
It's there. Yeah.
There are certain differences. And I do find that some of the Gen X volunteers, I think, are, I don't know, anxious about change within the fraternity. Mm-hmm. But I think it all boils down to value. Like, if they can understand the value of it and what it's going to do for the organization and what it's going to do for our students, then maybe it will be easier for them to make shifts and change out the guard. But I don't know. I think we'll have to see. That's actually another thing that I have a volunteer of mine doing some research right. Leadership, and the whole idea of purpose leadership is that you are leading based on where you find purpose and where you find value and where your passion is, and how that may change throughout your lifetime. You might have multiple purposes at any given moment, right? The whole idea of like, what is my purpose in life? Well, nobody just has a purpose. We have multiple purposes all the time. And so are we serving in a role that aligns with where we find purpose? And if we're not, how can we change that? So somebody might be in a role because, say that, like I know of a section chair who has been in their role for a long time, and I think they're in it because they don't know what else to do. And that's not the reason to be a section chair. But I understand that feeling of stuckness. We can get in a rut and we don't know how to get out of it. And so we just keep doing that same behavior until we drop. And so what my hope is of this training is that people really have to have those conversations with themselves of, what do I care about? What do I genuinely care about? Like, when I'm laying in bed at night and everything's quiet, what am I excited about? What am I thinking about? What are the things that really get me jazzed? Like, where do I feel it in my bones? And how does that manifest in APO? How can I use the things that I really love and really care about to better serve the organization? And maybe the one thing you really deeply love is making pop-up cards. Like, we'll go real niche here. Like, you love pop-up cards. Well, how could that manifest in APO? Well, maybe you start developing creative packets that you can send out to all of the chapters for them to do craft projects with children or something like that. Like that's totally in alignment with the thing that you care about, but maybe you actually don't like to be around people. Well, you're still doing service. You're still doing a great service to these children, to the students, but it's much more in alignment with something that you care about versus say you're in a person role and every time you're around them, you feel like you're going to throw up because you have social anxiety, right? So I want to help people feel like they can walk away from things that are not in alignment with what they want to be doing with their lives and walk into those other things. Or if those other things don't exist, make those opportunities happen. So I'm very much, it's the professor in me. I want to build confidence. I want to help people find direction. But anyway, that's sort of a really long-winded answer to your question about the different cultures within the regions. Sorry, I took that all over the place. I apologize, Connor. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you're good.
On the more personal side, something I sometimes struggle with is, you know, your job can sometimes take so much of your energy. And APO can be a really good way to kind of revitalize yourself, but sometimes it can also take a lot of energy.
Yeah.
How do you recommend, especially, you know, you've got a national role, a really big one. How do you balance it all and make sure that it still remains fun and you do have your purpose while also sometimes it feels like working two jobs, right? And I imagine for you, it's like to the nth degree. I'm really interested in how you do it.
Well, it's interesting in my job because my career is weird. I have an odd job. My day-to-day work changes all the time. My schedule changes all the time. And so determining work-life balance in my job alone is confusing. Yeah. Because I'll be laying in bed thinking, oh, I should send Sarah this link to this artist. She would love that. And I need to remember to talk to Andrew about his blah, blah, blah. You know, it's very difficult to turn all that off. But what I have found with this is I have had to just tell myself there are days that you are on and there are days that you are off. And you have to honor it. And I even have sticky notes on my computers that tell me certain things that remind me, hey, it's okay, you've got this. But like last school year, I delineated Thursdays as APO day. So Thursdays I do meetings, Thursdays I talk to the national office, I do emails, I try to get as much done on Thursdays. And then if I need to, Saturday is my bleed over day. And so I knew when I woke up in the morning, okay, professor hat is off, now APO hat is on, and I gotta focus on that. And there were definitely days where I didn't want to do it. And there were days that I didn't do it. There were days that I just faltered. And there were days where I went, why am I even doing this? What is the purpose of this? You know, I was having those conversations. And there were days where I felt very sad with what I was doing because I realized so much of the work that we are doing, I realized most of the alumni volunteers have no idea that we're doing anything. So in their minds, I look like I'm doing this when I know I'm not. But so sometimes I get into my head like, oh man, I hope that all of the alumni volunteers don't think I'm just shirking my duties in my role. And so I'd have to have those moments of pause. And really what I found was the best thing for me, I'm a verbal processor. And so I have a few mentors within the fraternity, and I would just call them and I would say, these are the feelings that I am having. I want to love APO as much as I do. And I'm finding it hard to love it right now because it's so in my head. I need to talk this out. And I would just work through it, chatting with them. And it was amazing after those conversations, how much better I felt. But the one big thing that I would tell you is if you are having any kind of feelings like, oh, I'm not enjoying this anymore, or I feel so exhausted, I can't keep all of these balls in the air all the time. First of all, just give yourself permission to feel that way sometimes. Like, I am okay to feel this way. I think we oftentimes, especially in APO, struggle to give ourselves permission to not always have it. Because
energy, constant energy and happiness. Yeah.
Because we want to, the whole reason we joined this organization is because we care, we want to be involved, we want to serve, we're excited to be a part of the planet. It's like we want to live. And so when we're having trouble having that energy, we feel like maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, do I not love APO anymore? Yeah, I don't know if you've had any of those feelings, but I've had all these moments where I go, what's wrong with me? I love this organization. And I feel like I don't want to take this call with this person who I also love talking to. What's wrong with me? Well, it's okay. Like, we are not always going to be on, and that's all right. And so I would say the very first thing is just acknowledge that it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Give yourself permission. And also, I say that all the time to my students, give yourself permission, because we are totally forgiving of other people. And yet we never want to forgive ourselves. We never want to allow ourselves to falter. And yet I can guarantee, if your friend has to call you and say, I'm just not feeling it today, I'm really pooped, you'd go, okay, I hope you feel better. But if you are in that situation, guarantee you're probably going to beat yourself up over it. Like, oh, they're going to hate me. Oh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get out of bed? So all that to say, start there, give yourself permission. Second thing, have a mentor. Talk to your mentor. So if you don't have a mentor already, find somebody who you really value. And that mentor can be younger than you. They don't even have to be an APO, just somebody who you really respect and care about what they have to say. Or maybe not even what they have to say. Maybe they're just fabulous at listening to you, and they're really good at acting as a soundboard for you. That's a mentor. So have a mentor, talk to them. If you are somebody who thrives on schedules, set yourself a schedule. Delineate an on time and an off time. Say, nope, from this time to this time, I don't answer emails. And it's absolutely okay to set up an automatic response that says, I don't check this email from this day to this day. I will respond at time. If you need to speak to me sooner, and by setting those boundaries, I've got a section chair who every time I send out a group message, I get it back from her and I go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And it's fabulous because I always know, okay, if I ever want to talk to her in particular, I have to call her because she doesn't check her email until Wednesday at 2. So that's another great thing. Like, it's absolutely okay to set boundaries within APO and set boundaries with your friends and your family. I don't know about you, but I have some friends and family members who really understand and respect my time in APO, and others who don't understand why I would ever spend time doing something I'm not paid for.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely okay to give those people pushback. And if that is creating any tension in your life, if you do have people who are giving you pushback and making it an uncomfortable situation, I think it's really a really great way to teach people about something that they don't understand is to frame it in a way that they understand. So, for example, my dad is a doctor, and whenever he would do surgery beforehand to help calm the people down, he would ask them about what they do. And then he would try to frame what he's going to do based on their job. So, say he was talking to like a plumber or an electrician, he would try to talk about like, okay, your GI tract is like plumbing, and let's talk about how plumbing works. And so that you're using it in the context and the language that they already understand. And so if there's somebody who really, really, really loves sports, let's say that, or loves going to concerts and doesn't understand how anyone doesn't love it too, that's a perfect in. You can say like, you know how much you love going to sports and how you eat, sleep, breathe it. And you put a ton of money into it and you're not paid for any of it coming back to you. But you get so much value out of it. It brings so much joy to your life. Ding, ding, ding. It's the same thing for me. Like, this is my sports. This is my bowling. This is my whatever gardening club. So I think if you can frame it in that way, it helps them better understand the value of it to you. That sure, I'm not being paid for it, but this is something that feeds me. So that would be my feedback.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you.
Good.
Oh,
Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I have a good question. When, or if there was a moment that you felt like, you know what, I am actually ready and like experienced to do like kind of the role you're in now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we think of like a national program chair, like that's a 50 years of knowledge that you have to be so well like versed and just ready to go.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's actually interesting. I did not feel ready. I was tapped on the shoulder and asked if I would be interested in doing it. And I called Bob London and I said, I do not feel prepared for this. I feel totally not ready. Like, same thing. Isn't this something that somebody who's been in the fraternity for 20 plus years does? And he said, no, there is no time. There is no time period where you're ready, because I mean, the same can be said about presidents. Like, how old was JFK when he was elected, right? Is there a certain age you have to be when you, I mean, look at AOC. She's what, 29, just turned 30. She's in the US government. It's so there isn't really a time, there isn't an age. I will say, for me, it was easier having been in a section chair role, having been in a leadership position where I know how to run a committee. I know how to have a staff. I know how to delegate and work with them and follow through. And then working with Section Chair Academy as the coordinator, that was more of a national level position, but still sort of insular. But I guess I felt ready when they ask you on the application to propose what you would do with the role. And I started writing down all of my ideas. And all of a sudden I went, oh, I guess I am more prepared than I realized. I guess I do have more thoughts than I realized. And I would say most of us probably are in that. Like, if someone were to ask you, like, if you did this, not you're already in it, don't worry about that, but like, all right, pretend you're here today. Like, what would you be up to? What would you be doing? What would you like to see the fraternity move forward doing? I guarantee you'd have an answer, because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't stay involved as an alumni volunteer, because you obviously care enough about the fraternity, the continuation of it, that you have ideas. And so I would say, if you feel like, oh man, there are things that I want to see the fraternity doing, I want to see the organization changing, and I want to have an active hand in that, you're probably ready. And if not ready at the national level, you're definitely ready to be in a position at the region level, at the section level. You could be on a national level committee. That's a great way to get involved. So say you are interested in doing something national level, a really excellent way to get experience is serving on a committee. And if you don't know how to get involved, a simple email to that person. I know it sounds scary sometimes to contact this national person, but really we are all just people just like you. You could say, hey, I'm really interested in being on your committee. I don't know what positions you have, but these are some ideas I have. Because sometimes I have a committee member, the one who's actually doing research for me right now, who contacted me and she said, hey, these are my ideas. I don't know if you have any space for me, but what can we talk? And I said, yes, absolutely. Got her on the phone and we got her working on this project. That was, she didn't have the capacity to serve in a really active role, but she could in this much more passive role where she can set her own schedule. And it's great. We check in once a month and that works for her. I've got other committee members who we connect every week and we talk. My section chair support committee is very, very active. They're working really hard right now because we're trying to hit a deadline. So I realize I'm expanding again, but my answer to you would be, there is no real time when you realize you're ready. It's kind of that idea, like, when are you ready to get married? When are you ready to buy a house? When are you ready to have a child? When are you ready to switch jobs? When are you ready to retire? There's never really a ready. You just have to take the leap. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I never considered like, oh, you can get involved at the national level. Just email I'm sure you're hungry for volunteers.
Yes.
As a program director, you want the help. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, it's like a win-win, but I never even considered that. That's something I might think about.
Oh yeah. Really, if there's like, if you are really jazzed about National Service Week or, contact service chair, if you want to get involved in the leadership development program, email LD. I mean, if nothing else, we can, if maybe we don't have space, we can at least point you in a different direction. So say, for example, I don't know, advisors, they don't need anybody, but you're really still interested in working with that sort of role. Well, extension is a perfect place to go, because the extension chair the extension coach is really closely aligned with an advisor position, right? They're basically preparing students to be a chapter. And so we're always happy to help point you in the right direction to get you involved. I am the person who receives the volunteer interest forms, which are on the apo.org website. Do you know about those?
No, I guess not. It sounds familiar.
Okay. I'm always plugging this. So on the national website, under alumni resources, there is it says something like, want to get involved? Alumni interest form. If you click it, you can type in all the information, what you're interested in, what experience you have, what you do professionally. It's pretty comprehensive. You can select all the skill sets that you have, your location, your geographic location, and then it gives you 3 options for your preferred role. What would you like to do? So maybe it's advisor, maybe it's section staff, maybe it's national volunteer. And then you can write any additional chair. I see that you're interested in this. I want to parties. Would you like to talk to? I like me to connect you with the second, and they're usually, yeah. So, there you go. And so I've been able to help connect people all over the country very easily. And a lot of times it's brand new students, or brand new alumni, fresh out of college, who want to get involved. And so it's a really easy way for me to help them get immediately connected to a new community. So it's really cool. Plug it to your students. It's a great tool. But yes, never be afraid to email anyone. The worst thing that they will say is nothing or no. In which case, if they say nothing, email them again. If they say no, very well, move along. But that just because they say no doesn't mean somebody else is going to say no. So contact them. Don't be afraid to contact them.
Now, what's your favorite role that you've had in the organization? Having probably, been at all the levels of that, quote unquote hierarchy, what have you enjoyed the most?
Oh, I loved being a section chair.
Yeah.
I bawled my eyes out when I stepped down. I had to step down because I went to graduate school. And I told the students, I'm leaving, but I'm going to continue serving you through the end of my term. And then it serves you better to have someone geographically close to you. And it just, it broke my heart to say goodbye to them, because I loved working with the students. And I loved working with my staff and helping really bolster them and see them really come into themselves. So I loved that role. Oh, I loved it. But I've really enjoyed all of my roles in different ways. Section Chair Academy presenter, I loved that because it was very fun to give back to the program. I was in the Alpha class, so we were the very first class that went through it, and it was absolutely invaluable to me. I would not have been able to do anything for a long time on my own without Section Chair Academy. And so for me, it was so lovely to be able to give back to something that had served me in such a great way. And then Section Chair Academy coordinator was really fun, just because again, I was able to use my vision and move it forward. And then unfortunately, due to budget concerns, because of our drop in membership, that's when things started to shift. That's why there is no NVC right now, things like that. And so when I came into this role, it was kind of crickets at first, because I didn't know what I was able to do, because I was given almost no money. And they kind of said, well, all the things that VD used to do, they're not doing any of that now. So you have a blank slate. So I'm walking around, tabula rasa, going, okay. And so while this position has been incredibly emotionally and mentally taxing sometimes, it's also been really cool, because I'll call Rob and I'll say, this is what I want to do. And he goes, cool. And so to be able to have the president go, sweet, do it, is really empowering. And so again, long-winded answer. But if I had to pick one, it would be Section Chair, just because it's so much fun to work with all the students. I just loved it. I miss the students a lot. I've been actually trying to get in touch with the students here at the university where I teach, and they are incredibly difficult to get in contact with.
Right now, probably it's a tough time to start something new, but yeah, I guess you can always be an advisor and get back into it.
Well, I'm trying. I will say our university's website is kind of terrible. So trying to sleuth down who the current advisors are has been a little tricky. Yeah. But I'm determined. I will meet those students. I will say hi. If nothing else, just to say hello. Because if they don't want me, I'm not going to force myself upon them.
I think you'd probably be a really good resource to them, I would think. Yeah.
I would hope so. But we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, what are your favorite roles? Where do you find you've had a lot of fun in your alumni time?
I've only been alumni for maybe 2 years. Technically, I guess, technically like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just graduated back in December. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have resources coming for you, Connor.
Excited. Yeah, I had the weird, it was only supposed to be like one more semester, being section chair, and then it ended up being like a whole nother year of being a student. So made it fun. I don't know, my favorite role. This is probably, because I can only talk from chapter level to now. Probably being section chair it's a lot of fun. I feel like that.
You're so immersed in everything when you're section chair. Yeah.
I know people don't typically like it, but I love the phone calls of I'm dying and I'm yes, this is my moment.
I did too. I loved talking to them. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's nice to look back and go, oh, that wasn't the end of the world when it happened to me. As a student,
yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I think is really useful. In the transition, you realize in retrospect, even when you're president of a chapter, it's an opportunity for you to grow. You're going to make mistakes. That's okay. And I think you bring that knowledge out here in the alumni world. We're all kind of muddling through and learning, but I think it's been really rewarding for me to meet with alumni from other chapters, because definitely my home chapter had a culture, and we were buttoned up for sure, and we were very type A, and it's interesting to see how other people do it and learn from them in that way. Not everything has to be like there's so many different ways to do it. And I think that's been rewarding, just learning from the best, seeing how everyone gets by.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you just said is really valuable, that we are all learning all the time. And in certain moments, we might be flying by the seat of our pants, and it's okay. All these people that we look at, you know, they're the people who I look at, who, and I realize there are probably people who look at me as in the way that I look at those people. You know, the people who are on the national board to me are a lot of people who were my mentors when I was a student. You know, Jeremy Bingman was my region chair. So I kind of look at them as, but I also have to remind myself, like, they were in my shoes at one point, and the people who are coming up will be in my shoes at some point. And we're all learning, we're all struggling. Sometimes we have no idea. Sometimes we answer with the response that we have to verify. I mean, so I think that we sometimes, and this is not exclusive to APO, but we see people who are older or more experienced as having all of the answers and never getting things wrong. And how do they do it? Oh, I'll never be like that. When in actuality, if you ask them, there are days where they have zero clue what's going on. And, you know, none of us are impervious to that.
Yeah. And it is refreshing, I think, to be reminded of that too. Like, okay, yeah, everyone gets burned out sometimes, but there's also, I think, so many great moments to feel revitalized and to remind yourself, you know, why you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's gone. If it comes back, I'll say it. Sorry.
A little off topic. What school in Michigan did you go to?
I went to Hope College.
Okay.
Which is in Holland. Yes, okay. So is this facing the right way for you? So right down here. So Grand Rapids is over here. We're 30 minutes over. Okay. So we were right by the Grand Valley State University chapter. There was a chapter down at Kalamazoo, at Western Michigan, but they were sort of hanging on by a thread for quite a while. And my chapter is actually inactive currently, which made me very sad. We've never been inactive, but something happened a couple years ago and they tanked. Made me sad. I hope they come back.
Yeah.
But yes, so I'm from Michigan. I'm not from Holland. But yeah, I did my undergrad there, and then I did my graduate school at UTSA, which also had a chapter that unfortunately tanked right when I got there, because I was really excited to be able to be an advisor, and they had some bad things going on. So it was actually good that they took a pause. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like I'm just.
No, I think I've learned a lot. It's been good for me, and definitely the energy. I think the energy always, like, to bring that energy here has been good for sure. But I do think
good. Well, it's
time too. But if there's any last thoughts or wisdom to share.
I will say, with regards to this position, the program chair position, the one thing about it that has been a bit of a struggle, and that has certainly been amplified by COVID, is that it is so much on the back end. Like the program chairs are working in such a remove from the students in our role, that if you find that working with students is what really energizes you, if you are ever interested in becoming a program chair, if the students are what energizes you, stay engaged with them in some way, shape, or form. It is hard to have multiple roles, especially something like the program chair, but it's totally doable. Even if it's just like volunteering here and there, but getting contact with the students, if that feeds you, feed yourself, because that has been my struggle. Is I love working with the students, and I have been so disconnected with them in the last 2 years that has been hard for me. But ultimately, I realized a lot of that has to do with COVID. And I'm super excited for National Convention because I'm really excited to see all of the alumni and the students who are coming, and that's going to be great. I'm just going to be like, wow, the whole time. But just, I would say, and that advice goes to anything. So recognize what your needs are. If you really find that you need to do recharge away from people, find a role that serves that. If you find that you do best when you're really active working with other, is it alumni or is it students or is it both, make that happen. So like I have been so much happier regularly meeting with my committee because I just feed off of them. They're just so wonderful to be around. And I think that we feed off of each other. And so big takeaway for me is feed yourself in whatever way, shape, or form you need to be fed. And that will be different for every person, but make sure you do.
And that sounds like it goes for life too.
Yes.
Like
oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. And please, by all means, if you have any questions after this, or if you want any direction on how to find something or how to talk to somebody, or, hey, I'm interested in this role, maybe in the future, could you help me to connect with that person who's in that role right now? Please let me know. I'm more than happy to. I'm volunteer.chair@apo.org. You can find that on the website too.
Another shameless plug.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, I always have to. I really want to break that barrier. I don't want people to think like I'm some big scary person. But I mean, my inclination is to laugh. So please, I am not a scary person. Message me, call me, whatever. I'm happy to talk.
Yeah. Oh, and that's so clear. Yeah. The opposite of scary. Very warm.
Good. Well, it was so lovely to meet you, Katie and Connor. I'm excited to see what you do next and hear from you in the future, and hopefully see you at National Convention.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. And Connor, stay tuned. We will have more resources coming this fall for you.
I'm excited for it. I listened in or not listened in, but heard Brittany on the phone all the time with every meeting and things like that. So
good.
I'm excited for it. She's definitely seems like excited for it to be coming out and that too.
Good. Well, in the interim, if there's anything that you need, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Great. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah, it was lovely to meet you both. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.